Hello YouTube users, it's me once again. Today I'm going to make a biblical challenge to Jehovah Witness. Now, because Jehovah Witness seem to believe solely on this, and maybe they didn't bother reading the Bible, I guess it's the best way is to actually read what is written in the Bible to point out what have they been misguided by this cult book, should I say. So I'll read out the passage and I'll make you think why this book has got it wrong, okay? So this book actually says that Jesus is actually the archangel of Michael. That's officially been confirmed from this book. Well, what this video that I'm going to make to you today, which was already revealed by the way, might actually damage the whole teaching of Jehovah Witness, and I wish that's going to happen because the whole thing is about what's actually written in here. So, but before we get into that, are you familiar with the term called theophany? Theophany is a Greek word which means God appeared in a human form. Now this has happened many times in the Old Testament. Now the first one that we can see is when Adam and Eve sinned against God. It says God is written in the Bible that God walked on the Garden of Eden, asking where Adam is. Now then he appeared. The second one I believe is when three visitors appeared to Abraham and Sarah. And Sarah laughed, and the supernatural being says that you did laugh, and Jacob wrestled with God. And that's basically what we can conclude. But if you read carefully, you understand that supernatural being is God. Is also known as Jesus. Now the most important biblical verse that you have to be aware of, which is my favorite of all time, this is my passion, is that you got to read Book of Daniel chapter 10. Forget about everything, just let's read Book of Daniel chapter 10. I'm not going to read out everything because it's going to take too much time, so I'll try to summarize it as much as possible, but you should read it out yourself. So here it goes. Daniel fasted for 3 weeks, okay? And then he saw this great vision of a man, and he just can't comprehend it, and he fell asleep as if he was dead. So this is what it says of this supernatural being, how the supernatural being lived as a spiritual appearance, okay? It says on the 24th, this is Daniel chapter 10 verse 4. On the 24th day of the first month, as I was standing on the bank of the great river, the Tigris, I looked up, and there before me was a man dressed in linen, with a belt of the finest gold around his waist. His body was like a chrysolite, his face like lighting, his eyes of flaming torches, his arms and legs like the gleam of burnished bronze, and his voice like the sound of a multitude. And verse 7, I, Daniel, was the only one who saw the vision. The men with me did not see it, but such terror overwhelmed them that they fled and hid themselves. So I was left alone, gazing at this great vision. I had no strength left. My face heard him speaking, and as I listened to him, I fell into a deep sleep, my face to the ground. And a hand touched me and set me trembling on my hands and knees. He said, Daniel, you who are highly esteemed, consider carefully the words I am about to speak to you. So there you go. So this is the beginning part of chapter 10 about this great vision. So you can see that when this normal human being like Daniel confronted this supernatural being, and he fell to the ground as if he was dead, as he was dead, because the supernatural being is so powerful that angel cannot comprehend even. And the sign is that this supernatural being comforted this Daniel and lifted him up and gave him the prophecy. That's the story about the book of Daniel chapter 10. Now if we move on to the final verse of Daniel chapter 10 verse 20, that's the final verse. It says here, the supernatural being said to Daniel, so he said, do you know why I come to you? Soon I will return to fight against the prince of Persia. So this is a spiritual warfare that we cannot understand at this stage. But he came to fight against the prince of Persia, and when I go, the prince of Greece will come. But first I will tell you what is written in the book of truth. No one supports me against them except Michael, your prince. So in other words, what he's saying is he's going there to fight against Prince of Persia and then Greece. But no one supports him except that Michael. So Michael supported this supernatural being. So this is a spiritual warfare that we cannot understand at this stage, but probably when we die it will fully make sense. But what I'm trying to get at is, it's a through of history. I guess Jesus actually was, creating history in that stage. That's how I like to interpret it is. But this supernatural being, we don't know. If you read only the Old Testament, you'll think, oh, this guy's so powerful, but who is his name? But in fact, the answer comes in Book of Revelation chapter 1, which I'll read it out to you. So this is John who wrote Revelation. This is Revelation chapter 1 verse 12. It says, I turned around to see the voice that was speaking to me, and when I turned I saw 7 golden lampstands. Here it goes. And among the lampstands was someone like a son of man, dressed in the robe reaching down to his feet, with a golden sash around his chest. His head and hair were like white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were like blazing fire. Okay, his feet were like bronze glowing in furnace, and his voice was like the sound of rushing waters. In his right hand he held 7 stars, and out of his mouth came a sharp double-edged sword. His face was like the sun shining all around its brilliance. And it goes, verse 17. When I saw him, here it goes, I felt at his feet as though dead. And then he placed his right hand on me and said, do not be afraid. I am the first and the last. I am the living one. I was dead. And behold, I am alive forever and ever, and I hold the keys to death and Hades. So realize, if you know the basic knowledge of the Bible, it's concluded that this supernatural being mentioned in the book of Daniel chapter 10 is confirmed on Revelation chapter 1 that it's Jesus Christ himself. End of story, okay? So my question to you for Jehovah's Witness is that this supernatural being has been confirmed, but in your point of view, you believe that Jesus is Michael. So who is this supernatural being then in Daniel chapter 10? If the supernatural being says, Michael, agree with me to fight against Prince of Persia and Greece, then who is this supernatural being is something I want to ask you. Because if we base on your theory, Michael is Jesus Christ. So this can't be Michael, this supernatural being. But in fact, I asked the Jehovah's Witness who's not my door, he said it's Michael. But I said, hang on a second, if you look at verse 20, it says this being is a separate identity of Michael. So I really want to ask you, if you actually read the Bible of this part, what was going through your head of this supernatural being? It can only be concluded from me as a Christian as Jesus Christ. But I would like to hear your view on this. So I hope this is a very important question that opens your eyes, especially Christians, if you haven't known about this sort of background image about Jesus Christ, how he appeared in Old Testament as a human form as well in numerous times. I hope it educated you quite well. But I also, main question is, I want to attack Jehovah's Witness about their misconception of Jesus Christ. If you read the Bible, it says he's a different identity to Michael. So in other words, let's think logically on how your think process works, but what have you made in a conclusion of this supernatural being that is mentioned in book of Daniel chapter 10? If it's not, well, it's definitely not Michael, so who do you think it is? Let me know your answer, and let's have a very healthy debate. So thank you very much for watching this video. This is Love Jesus Please. Bye bye. Hi users, it's me once again. After uploading my previous video titled Answering Jehovah's Witness whether Jesus is Michael or not, now there were 2 expected results that I got from Jehovah's Witness saying that the supernatural being mentioned in the book of Daniel chapter 10, they said that it's Gabriel, because they have to say other than Michael because they believe Jesus is Michael. Therefore, the supernatural being that Daniel encountered has to be Gabriel. That was their logic, and that was in conclusion. But carefully, if we look into book of Revelation, which this same being appears to, it actually says that this supernatural being actually confessed to John, that says that, behold, I am the first and the last. I was dead and I'm alive and I live forever. So in other words, they instead of them believing that Jesus Christ, they do actually believe that Jesus Christ died for their sin, but according to this logic now, they believe that actually Gabriel died for their sins, that Gabriel died and was raised and lived forever. In other words, it's just jumping all over the place, their logic. So they, in this book which says what does Bible really teach, officially confirms, while it confirms that Jesus is Michael. Now if you approach them logically with the original Bible to Jehovah's Witness regards to Daniel chapter 10, you'll see that probably most of the Jehovah's Witness will be cornered to admit that it is actually Gabriel. And this doesn't make sense overall, if you see what I mean. And this is what I really expected. And I just wanted to show to you the power of the scripture. And to remind you that you should not really read what does the Bible really teach, though it looks thinner and it will take less time for understanding it. But why don't you read the actual Bible to find out the truth? I mean, this is a typical example for many other cult movement, Islam, you name it, or any other religion that sounded like Christian but is not. And and why is Daniel chapter 10 important? Because it explains carefully in detail the deity of Jesus Christ, that he's not merely a archangel, but he's actually God. And that's what Christian message should be, the core message. And this should be, everyone, a basic norm knowledge that every Christian should have. But the frustrating part is that when I talk with most of the Christians, they're not really interested in this part. And I do actually believe that this is a key to explain Islam, sorry, Muslim people, Jewish people, or many other cult religion people, that who Jesus Christ is. Because if we pass this key on, who Jesus Christ is, by using the Bible to the rest of these people, we're going to create a better world. We're going to bring many people back to Christ. And this is what my passion is. And the logic should be that if you start, if you're a Christian, don't be ashamed. I mean, a lot of Christians don't read the Bible actually, but if you start with Book of Daniel, which is in the Old Testament, and link up with Revelation chapter 1, which is the New Testament, the final bit, that should be the core foundation and motive for you to read the Bible. That's my personal recommendation. And if you go through the history in the Old Testament, you can see that Jesus, God, walked in the Garden of Eden. This is a theophany term where God appeared as a human form, okay? And Jesus wrestled with Jacob, and Jesus appeared to Manoah. I believe he is the father of Samson, and many events. Actually, in fact, I'll show you my Bible, which I've been reading for many years. This, people, you see this? This is actually my interlinear Bible, which is Hebrew, written in Hebrew in Old Testament, Greek in New Testament. And so far, that is all the trace of Jesus Christ appeared in human form, or in a prophecy term, but I believe they're all in human form. So a theophany term. So, and I really look forward to sharing this with you, but in fact I haven't complete reading this yet, so I don't think I should until I read the whole thing. But at the moment I'm actually at Galatians chapter 4, and I really look forward to sharing this with you. But people, just to remind you again, if you're a Christian or if you're not aware of Book of Daniel, please make this as a norm. Link it up with Revelation chapter 1, and then use this example to start your Bible study. It's like when you find Jesus Christ, my personal experience is that when you find the trace of Jesus Christ in the Old Testament based on this, as he appeared in human form, you understand why he actually said proudly that I am the first and the last. That when he actually says, before Abraham was, I am, it all comes to sense. And there will be nothing more enjoyable than reading the Bible if you come to this sort of habit of reading the Bible. And I really do hope that you go through this, and many Christians out there who are not aware of this, I wish this could become a norm. This could be like a basic knowledge for Christians, so that they could spread the good news to others, especially, as I said, Muslim people, Jewish people, and any other cult religion. And if any other cult religion are opposed to you, this will be the most effective shield to argue against them as well. So test the Jehovah Witness people if you have a chance. Ask them about Daniel chapter 10, and if they say that it is Gabriel, well, in fact they're admitting that Gabriel died for their sin. They're actually admitting that Gabriel died for their sins, and Gabriel died, well, and he's the Alpha and Omega. In other words, it's not Jesus, but they believe that Gabriel is in fact the Messiah, the Archangel. So it's another way to argue with Jehovah Witness if they really bother you. But anyway, I hope this video really make you a better Christian, and more knowledgeable and more passionate Christian. And also I just want to make this video to expose the false knowledge and false logic of the way how Jehovah Witness people believe in. And it's very easy, and all you need to do is read the Bible, not read what does the Bible actually teach, but read the actual Bible, because truth will stand firm forever. So thank you very much for watching this video. This is Love Jesus Please. Bye-bye.
Yeah, Dr. Jason Morrison, theologist again. I just want to say thank you for watching the videos, and I hope you got plenty of self-rediscovery and freedom out of it. If you watched it on YouTube, please share or like, maybe even comment. If you watched it on Facebook, like, comment, share. But most of all, get out and live. This isn't a rehearsal. You've got a one-off life. Don't let your loyalty and your faithfulness blind you to the life that you should be experiencing. Till the next video, thank you for watching, and bye for now.